now we're getting into yesterday's match. Yesterday we had rugby, the opening, of course, and so many of us were there, and I happened to spot you, Mark. And Uganda versus Kenya.
I couldn't pick you from the crowd, and I was.
No, I was on the stands definitely.
Okay.
VIP guys.
Mark Saleh.
I was thinking you'd gone to the Kenyan camp to leak our secrets.
Mark Saleh,
you probably did.
Mark Saleh belongs to the prawn sandwich brigade. The guys who sit in the VVIP and they just come with all the SC, the coolers around them. But Pal is a typical fan who was seated in the rowdy section of Nambole to cheer her country.
So yesterday, yes, we had rugby. We are now getting into the segment of rugby. And, Uganda versus Kenya is never just a game, okay?
No.
In as much as it never really went our way, it was really a great match to watch. So, Mark, kindly let us know how it all went.
Yeah, Mark says I'm Sandwich Brigade. I'm not as big a rugby fan as Paul in as far as following the game right today is concerned. But yeah, I followed rugby was part of where I went to school. So I've been with rugby for the last 35, 40 years. And so the basics are with me. And once I got there, Mark might think I was just chewing on my prawn sandwiches. There were none, by the way. But I got into the action. Yeah, I was surrounded by.
But there must have been a drink.
Surrounded by just water. I was surrounded by rugby people, and I got into it. Actually, most of the time, I was standing right next to Michael Walkerach after he received the Olympic torch from the center of the circle. And came up to sit. I was seated not too far from him, but we found ourselves standing for most of the game. And everybody in the pavilion who had a seat eventually had to get up, whether you were Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda or whether you were there were ministers from Mengo. There were, the top brass from NCS were there, Ambrose Tashobia and Dr. Bernard Patrick O'Gale, and there were all these CEOs from the different corporate companies. And virtually, the corporate glitterati of Kampala were all in that VIP tent where I was. But we all got into it, and largely the passion was there. So what happens is, because the way you say it, Paul, Kenya and Uganda is never just a match. It's tough. It's unfortunate, actually, that this is the draw that Uganda got. Ideally, if Uganda had won this game, it would have set the biggest tone for this kind of tournament. The tournament will still have its hype. Rugby is a culture thing, it's a party thing, and you could see even after Uganda had lost that the party was still going on. But I'd have fancied for us to play. The other three teams in the semi-finals, apart from Kenya, are Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Algeria. I'd have fancied Uganda's chances against any one of those. But the Kenyans, especially at the 15s, have been. We beat them at the 7s quite a bit these days, but in the 15s we've had problems, and I think we lost to them last year, the same stage, and you could see the nerves even from the players because of the nature of the occasion. That game when it started, like I told you, I have basic rugby knowledge from all these years of attending. I could see a few things. There were handling errors. There was lack of support. There was lack of support. There were decision making. Guys were carrying when they should pass. I could see that. Even Philip Okorach, who is a pro, he made a bad decision on the penalty and actually miscued it. We could have got onto the score sheet before Kenya, but eventually the guys settled in. We got punished by the Kenyans. They scored early. They got onto the board, and then twice they actually came out. Our pack collapsed. They came out of scrums and scored tries off those scrums. And one of those points, actually, I am not the most tactical person on rugby, but I could tell that I don't think the coach made good calls to change the front row before a scrum. Yes. So you remember when Blair came on? And the others here. So he made two changes. I think the other one was Silas Chivombi. They came on, and our pack collapsed. Twice we conceded tries straight from those scrums. And then when the fight back began, I thought that guys did well. Timothy Kisiga, for example, when he came off the bench, there was that interception for our second last try when we were closing the gap. The gap had gone to 29-10 and looked like it was game over. and then we got those 2 tries at the end.
Also, Liam did,
Liam did well.
Yeah, his
Yeah,
time
they
there
did. I
was
mean, they all did
good,
well.
yes.
Aaron Ofoiroth, and then Byron Okatayot, and then there was he was part of the guys who were fumbling handles at the beginning. You remember where some bad decision making. I think there were nerves. But when they settled in, all the guys started to play well. And Philip was outstanding. I mean, his kicking was on point. He converted, and then he scored our penalties. And then he got a try as well. We had 3 tries in the game, didn't we? And then Adrian Casito, I thought, played well.
Oh, yes.
But I think most outstanding must have been Santos.
But Mark,
You're not. Paul is not convinced, but I thought that Santos was outstanding.
When you mention
I thought Santos
names
was
like
standing. Yeah.
Philip Wokorach, Adrian Casito, Timothy Chisiga,
Yes.
Aira, and likes. I mean,
I wasn't there. But
Yeah, but others were there. Opio was there. Pius Ogena was there.
but there is why would we be
Nervous and all.
nervous?
It beats you because those are very experienced players. They're very experienced players.
They
But
played sevens at the highest level.
no, the Kenyans were huge. These guys are big. I was wondering. Actually, I mean, their conditioning is superb. Actually, there were 2 Kenyan guys standing behind me. So when they were stretching the lead in the second half, around 60th minute and on, when they stretched the lead, he said, one of the Kenyans said, "You know what? This is what we call the cortisone period, the time when now your endurance, your conditioning sets in after an hour of the game when everybody's beginning to get tired. Who stands out? That's at the time when the Kenyans scored twice and we looked like we're out of it." Then we hit back with those 2 tries I just talked about, and they were beautiful tries, by the way. The one that came off
last minute, actually, I almost walked away.
the one that came off that Timothy intercept.
A couple of
and
years
then
ago,
there's-
I know that Kenya used to have different teams for the 7s and the 15s.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still the same because
Yeah.
if they've been punishing us,
At the 15th.
At the
No,
15th,
it's
and-
still largely that. I mean, their experience showed, their conditioning showed, their strength and size showed. But I thought that our guys eventually played well. I thought that we ran out of the clock. Actually, we brought that game to 24-29, and we're looking for that final try to win the game. But that's when we conceded from that drop goal. I think the drop goal killed it all. Is what killed the spirit finally. But more than anything else, I thought that the Uganda Crowns ran out of clock. The time was against us at the very end.
Mas was an amazing guy, but I think he got injured mid game. Gongodio, you're also amazing. So, all those are Pirates people.
Yeah, that's no wonder.
Half the team.
No wonder.
Members of the team. Yes.
No wonder
You
you.
need to accept this. Okay? So I feel with this game actually, not to, call out names or anything, but these decisions, I think to say, the players, maybe the coach, most of it should have really come from the coach to realize some of these things.
Some of these things. Eh?
Yeah.
Well, it's like we say, the pressure that comes with playing in a derby. This is a derby. This is one of the most fierce derbies anywhere on the African continent. It doesn't matter which sports discipline when Kenya and Uganda face off. But in rugby, it actually really is fierce. And so you're bound to make mistakes like we did. The handling errors, the decision making, even all the way from the bench onto the pitch. But where that leaves us now is that, like I said, we have 2 semi-finals, Algeria up against Namibia, and then Zimbabwe playing Kenya. So we are now left Uganda to participate in placement games. And so we'll be fighting for 5th on Sunday when we face Morocco.
Well,
we'll face Morocco on Sunday, the second game, because the first one will be, I think, Ivory Coast against Senegal.
That's unfortunate, but...
it's really unfortunate, yeah. But now, between now and then, what we're going to be doing is playing good host. And I think it's a precursor for us to CHAN. How do we host? The rugby guys know how to be very, very good hosts, and now
Mark, you're in that committee, you're in the funds committee, so you can
learn a few things from the rugby guys. It's tourism time for us now, to be honest. Now that Uganda is only fighting for placement, that means that we can't qualify for the World Cup, no?
Unfortunately,
no.
All right, guys. Hats off to Kenya, but hey, revenge is just a fixture away, really. I'm thinking, okay?